Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Yay, we're doing it.
And we've got Budget Dog on later, so that's really exciting.
I know, it's like the best way to close out Coffee with Kem Hills.
Right?
Yeah, it really is. He's the best. He's so great.
Yeah.
Do y'all follow him on You probably do. Everyone does, it seems.
I mean, you should. If you aren't, you should.
Yeah, he's like on it. He is so on it. He does like lives all the time. I get like these notifications and stuff on my phone, and he just is like gifting everyone like all of this financial help. It's really, y'all need to follow Budget Dog. What did I call him last week? His pregnancy brain. I called him something ridiculous. I don't remember what it was. It was like guns ablaze. I don't know.
Guns ablazing. Not anything close.
Yeah, it was nothing close.
That's what happens with pregnancy brain, for sure.
Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah.
There are so many things, like if I go, and it's hard for me to watch any episodes because there's things coming out of my mouth. I'm like, did y'all catch that? Like, y'all need to call me out. I think I was telling a boa constrictor story, and I called it a boa constructor.
I missed that. That was on the boat.
That was on the boat, yeah, boa constrictor. I mean, I notoriously say things wrong anyway, or like mix up, like sayings and stuff, like a watched pot never boils or whatever. Like I would say something ridiculous.
She got it right that
I got
time.
it right that time. I picked one I knew. But yeah, and so give me pregnancy brain on top of it. Please make fun of me. If you see it, just like write it out. Come on, give it to me straight.
Totally fine. We're here for it. We've got a supportive community here at ROI TV. It's fine.
Yeah, it's just kind of part of who I am. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And we love you for it.
Thank you. All right. So yes, we have a big day on Coffee with Kem Hills today because we have a guest, and it's usually just the two of us here, which is so fun.
Right. So great.
But it's nice to have a visitor once in a while, even if it's digital, which I'm just getting used to anyway in life.
I know. It's very... Yeah, the norm.
Yeah, digital, real world, it's all, metaverse.
Yes, the metaverse.
But let's get into some hot topics. How to refinance student loans. This is great because obviously student loans are coming back.
Yep.
People are going to have to start making their payments again come this September, I believe, unless it gets pushed.
Right. It might get pushed. Right now it's August 21st, but...
Yes. August 21st. Oh. Sorry.
So keep that date in mind.
Don't listen to me.
But to your point, it might push again. It's pushed 5 times already. It might push again.
Yes.
And that's for federal student loans, not private student loans, which were not affected by this stoppage.
Yes, by the help.
Yeah.
By all the help.
I mean, the government, they have the ability to stop federal student loans.
Sure, but not private.
Not private.
Totally.
At least at this point.
So, okay, refinancing your student loans can help you secure a lower interest rate, reduce your monthly loan payments, or both. So in some cases, this could be a really great option for you, but it kind of depends as well on your situation.
Yes.
As do most things, right?
So definitely do your research. We've got some tips that we'll kind of walk through, but refinancing isn't necessarily for everyone. I know back in my 20s, I had looked into it and it actually didn't make sense for me.
Sure.
Because some of my student loans were at a lower rate than what was currently being bombarded with.
So make sure you check the rates.
Yeah, so make sure, which is definitely part of here. So we'll go through some of the tips that we've got.
Yes.
But make sure you do your own research for your situation.
Yes. So, okay, here are some scenarios where refinancing makes sense, okay? So this could be you. You never know. Your personal finances have improved since you took out your current loans. So that means consider your credit score, debt to income ratio, and job situation.
Right. The same is true if you have a co-signer on your loan. So if their situation has also improved, you may be able to get a better rate.
Yeah. I wonder what the percentage is, because I feel like a lot of people probably do, like a lot of students probably do have co-signers on their loans.
Who has credit when they're 18? I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know how quick soon you got a credit
Right.
card.
I mean, I guess there are people who do. I would imagine, to your point, it's a smaller percentage.
Yeah, totally. Okay, next you have private student loans. So only private lenders will refinance your student loans. Well, so what happens, right, is, correct me if I'm wrong, if you have federal student loans, it will become a private.
It can, yes. If you refinance, your federal student loans,
you're giving up your federal
you're giving
for
up
private.
your federal for private,
Right.
which can be the right situation, but then you're also giving up these protections for these federal student loans, like the federal student loan forgiveness, or the stoppage
Federal
that we've had.
forbearance, income-based repayment, and financial hardship programs. So
typically, if private lenders do not have any of those things.
And it's also hard to predict where you're going to be, in 5 years dealing with your student loans. Hopefully not, but typically it does take people time to pay off these loans. So having like some of those options available to you, you don't want to like 10 years down the line be like, shoot.
Well, and the other thing too is that you might have a mix of both federal and private, and it may be that you refinance your private loans, but you keep your federal loan as is, or loans. Therefore, you don't have to mess with all of it.
Yes. They said once you refinance, there is no going back.
So keep that in mind.
And they have a pro tip too. To receive the best student loan refinance rates, you should have a FICO score of 750 or above.
Ooh, I don't think I had that when I was...
I'm like, how do you even get that when you're like... Although I feel like people are...
If you're paying your like credit card bill or your cell phone bill or something like that after you get out of school.
Sure.
Paying rent on time, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Utility bills.
Yeah. And I think people are going back to school at all ages.
Yeah, it's true.
It is true.
It's true.
Page 11. So yeah, definitely check your credit score before applying, because that's really important. It's going to help you get the best rate.
And you can do a soft credit score check instead of having a hard pull, which is what will also happen when you do actually apply for the refinancing.
Yes. Compare rates with lenders, which we touched on for a second earlier.
We always recommend that.
Yes.
Whether it's a mortgage, a home,
yes, so
auto.
same thing with this. Just, you want to speak to multiple lenders and compare rates. That's very important. Make sure you have all necessary documentation. That's going to save you time and effort. You don't want to mess this up.
Exactly. And one of the things too is to keep in mind that you may be getting all that mail, all that junk email that's offering this super low rate, but it's probably a variable rate, which means it will change with interest rates.
Yes.
So it may be it may be in your best interest to go with a fixed rate loan, which will keep the same rate throughout the duration of the loan.
Oh yeah, I'd be scared for when isn't fixed.
Yeah.
Also consider using a cosigner, because you might have somebody in your life that has a great credit score that's going to get you a better interest rate. So that is something to definitely consider if you're refinancing.
But also know that means that they are on the hook for that loan. So make sure it's
good relationship
and that you can pay your student loan.
Yes. And then last but not least, read the terms and loan carefully. Yeah, I'm the kind of person that like needs help with that, because like
it's all legalese and like jargon.
It's just like loaded, and it's just like over my head. And I know I'm not the person to read that and know what I'm taking in.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
and then make sure you make your payments on time until the loan is due.
Yes.
Like, just do it.
Just do it. Budget for that.
Whether it's auto pay, we talked about that before, that you can typically get 0.25% off of your loan if you put it on auto pay.
That's right.
So,
Yep. So yeah, we're here looking out for y'all. Tell us if you refinance your student loans and how it goes, please. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but we will be right back with the Budget Dog. Welcome back, everyone. Get excited. Brennen Schlegbaum is here, the Budget Dog.
The Budget Dog is in the house.
He's in the house.
The virtual house.
Virtually. Like, of course, we'd rather him like be here in person, sipping on some coffee with us, but we'll take what we can get.
It's true. It's true.
But he's here to offer some more financial tips and tricks We are so excited. Thank you for being here again. We love having you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me.
So, Brennen, take it away. Share your expertise with us.
All right, so we're going to talk about protecting your money today. So as one of my 3 key pillars, we go through track your money. Then once we know where it's at, we need to grow it. Now we need to protect it once we have a target on our backs. So there's a few key components to this concept, right? Number 1, being an estate plan team. Number 2, having insurance. Number 3, trust and wills. Number 4, having a good CPA for tax planning and preparation. And then also number 5 is credit. And so I think all of these, we can deep dive into everything, but I'm going to talk through each one kind of high level. So number 1 is estate plan team. I think it's really important to develop this with time. And so what does this actually look like? What's the makeup of this team? Number 1, an attorney. So an attorney is going to be the person that drafts those documents for you and make sure that your trust and wills and things of that nature are in place. Number 2, you're going to need a CPA. They're going to know your cash flow and your needs, and they might know and give you some updates before you even know you're due for specific different items within this estate planning. And then CFP, so maybe an investment planner. And lastly, an insurance agent. So for insurance products. Now, you might be listening to this and thinking, hey, do I need all this at one time? Not at all. This generally,
that's a lot to do all at once.
Yeah.
So this generally does come with time, and somebody that's really young might not need all or any of these people at one point in time. But as your situation gets more complex, it's really important to find a good team that kind of walks you through all these things and gives you the expertise where needed. So that's a little bit behind the estate plan team. And so I'd say the very first thing you're going to need likely is a CPA, potentially a CFP, and then just build upon that as you need. And so I'll get into kind of how we're using. What's that?
What does that stand for?
CFP, Certified Financial Planner.
Oh, okay. I know what that is.
I'm using all these fancy mnemonics. It's really not that complicated. I promise you that.
And for people who are just getting started, what is the difference between what a CFP and a CPA might do for you?
Yes, please.
Sure. So a CPA is a certified public accountant. That's what I am. And they're going to walk you through either cash flow. They might do your taxes, planning and preparation. And we'll walk through that in here soon of what specifically they do. A CFP is more along the lines of your investments. They might have your investments. They might help you either maybe a one-time planning exercise, or they might actually hold on to your investments and take what's called an AUM out of it, asset under management fee. But typically those are the different key differences between the two.
Okay. Yes, I'm so with you now. Thank you.
And so secondly is the insurance component. So I think a lot of times people have an accurate picture, but they don't have a complete picture to their finances. And so they have glaring holes that are like really detrimental to them if something happens. And so I always like to hit on maybe about 9 different insurances. I'll run through these really fast. Auto, health, dental, homeowners and renters, life insurance. I say ID theft. It's not really an insurance, but ID theft protection, disability, umbrella, and long-term care. That might sound a lot really complicated. Auto, health, dental, and I'd say homeowners are things that most people are going to have. So they think they're good right then and there. The most important, in my opinion, is life insurance, making sure you're protecting the people that you have dependents that are relying on you. Don't leave them stranded. A quick rule of thumb I use is 10 to 12 times of your annual income is the amount that you should have in protection. It's a general rule of thumb, so there's no perfect science to it. Everyone's situation is different, but right around there. ID theft, especially with the cyber criminals in today's world, it's just important. It's really cheap. I mean, I think I have a policy for $5 a month, but it just protects you and somebody steals your identity. And a lot of kids get their identity stolen because parents aren't looking after their 2-year-old kids, and a lot of identity theft happens at that level.
Oh, did not know that.
Oh, I'm going to get on this, Brennen. Thank you for sharing that. $5 a month, I can do that.
It's a reasonable. Most of these insurances, I think collectively, you could probably get for under $150, depending on obviously the policy and the amounts and stuff like that. But you could probably get a reasonable amount. Most of these within under 150, I'd say.
Wow, I wouldn't have thought of that with my 16-month-old.
And we'll get into more protection for your kids as well later under the credit section, because there's a lot of layers that you have to go for that as well.
Okay. Thank you. Bring it on.
Absolutely. And so to continue, so the ID theft is obviously big. Disability is big. So if I think it's 25% of people in the workforce become disabled at some point in time. That's 1 in 4 people. Wow. We don't ever think we're going to be disabled, but the reality is 1 in 4 of us might become disabled. So it's not something to play with. A good long-term disability policy will set you up for success. And typically, if you cover that, the proceeds that you receive are not taxable. So if you want to go for 70% of your income because you aren't going to have to pay tax on it, that'd probably be about a net positive about the same.
Interesting. And if you have like a disability insurance covered under your employer, do you feel like that's enough for people? Do you think that they need a supplemental disability insurance on top of that?
That's a good question, because the disability through an employer could potentially be covered by them from a premium perspective. And then in that case, the insurance proceeds are taxable. So you probably want to go more to be at first. And on top of that, you will have the potential of like leaving that employer and then not being covered for a small amount of time.
Yeah. Okay.
Got it. Okay. This is super helpful. Thank you.
So a big one's umbrella insurance. And so I like to think of this as like the overall protection layer for all of your insurances. So think about if, a dog bites a neighbor or you get in a car wreck. Okay. So a dog bites a neighbor and you don't have umbrella insurance in place to cover maybe the homeowners that would cover a piece of that. You could be on the hook for some big dollars. Or you get in a car wreck and your liability that you have on that coverage doesn't actually, cover the whole car wreck. Well, they're going to come after you. And if you have that umbrella coverage, that kind of gives you that extra cushion to protect you overall.
Okay.
Wow. I've never even heard of that. That's
yeah. So a lot of these insurance, this is where, a lot of times people are thinking they're accurate with the auto, health, dental, but the completeness aspect of it is crucial to make sure you're covered in every single avenue. And it's not expensive either. If you go through a low cost provider, maybe like a Xander Insurance or Policy Genius, where they're kind of a broker and they go search the lowest rates for you.
Okay. Amazing. Okay.
So the third topic today, guys, is trust and wills. So in short, a will is a must, I think. So it's just a document that says where your assets are going to go. That's all it is. So everyone that has dependents, they need this. For those without dependents, I think I would make sure you have enough assets to cover anything like funeral and burial expenses. So it doesn't fall on your family, but maybe not necessarily a full will. But that's going to come with a durable power of attorney for healthcare, a financial power of attorney, which is really just if you are incapacitated, you can't make those decisions for yourself from a medical or financial standpoint. They're going to provide the expertise and help and make that ultimate decision.
Right.
I think the biggest downfall of a will, though, is the probate court process, which is simply a court process.
We've talked about that over here.
Yeah, and everything's public and it can take a long time. And so sometimes a trust might make more sense, but it's also more complicated. And there's different reasons you would use a trust and different types of trust, which we're not going to get into today because that's a very extensive conversation. But there's many reasons, maybe asset management and control, maybe privacy needs, tax control, special needs. So in short, it has a lot of flexibility versus a will. And with my situation with Logan's medical condition, we're looking into a special needs trust and kind of exploring that avenue to see if it makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so we'll get into the CPA. So once we have those three things, we need to make sure the CPA is kind of a main part of our situation and planning situation from a financial perspective. So the two main ways to do this is not to call them on April 14th and say, you need my taxes done. It's really to do tax planning and do tax preparation. If you can master these two basics, you're going to be fine with a CPA. I'm a CPA and I don't do my own taxes. I have been contacting my CPA this week for tax planning purposes. And it's July. for this year.
Oh, wow.
So I always recommend people to meet at least one time during the year early on to figure out like, hey, what makes most sense going forward? My situation might have changed. Different things have occurred. What would you recommend? So I had a rollover IRA from an old pension at Deloitte recently. And I figured, I didn't want to hit the pro rata rule. So I went ahead and rolled that over into a Roth IRA in the meantime. But without having the CPA's guidance, it's kind of hard to make those decisions. They're big and they also are grand from a tax perspective sometimes. So planning all the time and then preparation. I typically say at least meet with a CPA once in your life early on. And if your situation's basic, it's a standard 1040, you're good to go. I don't think you need to continue with them if you can replicate that. Now, if your situation is constantly changing or there's things that you just don't understand, use the CPA. Don't take that risk with the IRS.
Sure.
Yeah. It's definitely worth it to pay for a CPA, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely need the help.
I agree.
I'm the first to admit it.
I don't want to do the time and hassle of getting the tax. I don't like taxes. I'm a CPA. So it's a waste of my time. I'm going to go ahead and pay the fee, give them everything they need. They can go run with the
Oh, wow. I pictured you like, oh, tax season.
Oh, no. Far from it.
Okay. So you're like the rest of us.
Yeah.
Dreading it. Okay.
I'm like we're all human here. So
Yeah.
And so the last piece of this, guys, I think is important to end on is the credit aspect. And so we could go into a million different things of credit and what makes up credit and all those kind of things. But the main point and main takeaway here is make sure that you're pulling an annual credit report from annualcreditreport.com. I literally just put on my calendar an annual reminder to do this. Very simple, but you pull from the big three credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. Do that once a year. Do it for your children as well. Like I was saying, cyber criminals go after kids because no parents are going to check their credit report for 18 years at least. And all of a sudden you get to 18, you're like, well, you have a mortgage on your name? And there's like, not saying that would happen, but there's some significant consequences if we don't check this for our children. So do that annually through annualcreditreport.com.
Okay. Yes.
I would not have thought of doing that for my child, but it makes so much sense because to your point, most parents are going to check theirs occasionally or you're doing financial things. So you're checking your credit report.
And scammers probably know that as well.
Oh, they're so smart.
Unfortunately.
It's sad. It's sad that we live in a world like that. But again, that's the reason for ID theft protection and checking that once a year.
Wow, Brennen, I have a lot of work to do tonight when I get home.
That's all. It's a good thing.
It is a good thing. That's why we are so thankful for you and that you're taking the time because I know you're very busy. But just to come on here and talk to us and share this with our audience because it's really important stuff that you wouldn't think of, No?
Right. I'm just happy to have the platform and you guys, we're working together to do this.
Yes. It's we all believe in this in growing financial literacy.
I agree. I'm with you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Brennen, and we're going to see you next month, aren't we?
Of course, every month.
Mm-hmm. Every month we get the budget dog. Thank you so much for joining us. Guys. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but we will be right back to tell you about the shows airing today on ROI TV. Welcome back, everyone. I just am here to remind you not to miss today's episodes of Elder Talk, Browns in Suits, and Options Crash Course. You can see all of these brilliant episodes on ROI TV, where
we are now on Distro TV, so check us out in the business section. You can download that on any of your devices, or you can find us on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, or on your device, whether it's an Android or Apple.
Yes. That's so much to say. I don't know how you do that every day. Thank you for taking the load on that one.
Anytime.
Thank you so much for joining us on another week of Coffee with Kem Hills. We'll see you next Monday with another big old cup of hot coffee.